or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Yes, indeed. And I am pleased to present to you the owner of that fine establishment, Frontier Motors, located at 230 Beverly Parkway. I refer, of course, to the inimitable Iven Streckel, who is ready, willing, and more than able to take calls from you on you getting the value of a car, truck, or SUV. Good morning, Mr. Streckel.
Hey, Don. Thanks so much for the introduction. And you are joining the WCOA AM Talk Radio Show. And if you're listening to this on Talk Radio, like Don said, you can dial 478-3116. That's 478-3116. If you're watching this on cable TV, don't bother calling in right now because it's a taped show. Even though you might be watching me live, I'm not sure. But it's a taped show on TV. And then you want to call the dealership number for a value on the car, and that's Frontier Motors. And the dealership phone number is 850-436-8080. One of the reasons that we bring you the show in both venues, on talk radio and on cable, is because there's a lot of things that Frontier Motors does other than sell cars. And there's a lot of, when I look at some of the cable stations, the infomercials that are out there, there's probably 10, if not more, car dealerships that do shows. Most of the car dealerships that do shows are talking about individual cars that they have and what the particular specials are or what the sale prices are on particular cars. And what we do is a little bit different on our radio show and TV show is we talk about that there is a dealership out there in the Pensacola area that can help you buy a car even if you're not directly buying it from Frontier Motors. And the reason that we do this is because we know that if we're going to help you get a good deal on a car, perhaps the next time that you're in the market, or perhaps you have a friend or relative or neighbor that's in the market, you will send them to the dealer that helped you get the deal, not necessarily the dealer that you bought from. And I realize that even though we have close to 300 cars in stock, I realize that we don't have enough cars to meet everybody's needs. And if you are and I'll give you an example. I had a customer the other day that was looking at a 350 or a 370 Nissan Z. Well, I had two of them in stock. One of them was too old. One of them was too new. So they wanted one in the middle. So what I did at that point is I either will tell that customer where there is one and go buy that particular car. And let's say that there's one at the local Nissan dealership. I'll find that on my screen while the customers sit in front of them. Of course, they can do this themselves by just going home at night and Googling, a 370Z and find out who in the area has one. But while they're in front of me, I'll tell them, well, here, there's one over at this dealership or this dealership. And then I'll do a little bit more for that customer. What I'll do is I'll get on the website, I'll scan the ID number, I'll do a history report real quick, because history reports are not free. You've got to pay for them. I know the last time that I checked into the Carfax, I believe one Carfax was like $30, and if you want 5 of them, it was like almost $50 to run Carfax. Well, we can do them at no charge at Frontier Motors. So what I did is I scanned the ID number to make sure the vehicle has a clean history report. Gives me an idea of how many owners it had, where the car came from. And then what I tell them is I tell them what they should pay for the car if they like it. So if they go over there and it's the right color, it's the right miles, and the right equipment, I'll tell them what to pay. And the way that I get that is I get right into the auction reports, and it'll tell me what I can currently buy that particular make and model for. And of course, if I know what I can buy it for, I'll calculate the shipping, I'll calculate the auction fees, and then I'll put a small profit on it, and it'll tell me what I can sell that car for. And that information is used to help you get the deal at the other dealership. And sometimes what happens is that you go over there and these guys are a bunch of buttheads. You don't like them at all. It's not even the car. You love the car, but you don't like the people. Or you like the people, but you don't like the car. Well, you come back to Frontier Motors, and I do what we call a locate. And about 25% of our business right now, it comes from locates. And the locate program works a little bit differently than most dealerships' locate program. Most dealerships' locate program is that they call you, they take your name and number down, they write down what you want, the color and things, and then they call you when they take one in trade. Well, the chances of them taking the exact car in trade are pretty slim. It could take a year before you get the right color, the right equipment, the right miles, the right year, and all the things that mesh together, the right money, for example. What we do at Frontier Motors, we get more aggressive, and there's 12 to 14 auctions every week in the South that I have my buyers at 10, and there's between 15,000 to 20,000 cars available throughout those auctions. What I do is, and the nice thing is they're listed alphabetically. So if you're looking for a Nissan, I go right down to Nissans, and this is an example. If you're looking for a 370Z, I go right down to the 370Zs, and within that week's time frame, there might be 10 of them available. But let's say you want a white or a silver one, and there's only 2 of those. Well, I click on those, and it'll give me the pictures, it'll give me the equipment, it'll give me the transmission, if it's got leather, if it's a hardtop, if it's a convertible. It'll also give me the ID number and the miles. And the auctions also do a condition report that tells me if it's rated from a 1 to a 5, 5 being best, 1 being the worst. Anything over 3.5 is acceptable. If it's below that, I don't even waste my time looking at the car. If it's a 4 or 5, that means it's just about perfect. My buyer still goes there, even though I do this from home at the computer site or at the dealership from the computer site. I have buyers that actually fly or drive to the auctions. And the reason I send those people to the auction is because I still want them to double check to make sure the condition reports are correct, but also to smell the car to make sure it's a non-smoker and that there's no issues with the car. And then I tell them what to bid on the car. So what we do on the Locate program is we go buy the car for you with the understanding that at least if it meets your expectations and passes your inspection, we have a deal. I've already told you how much it's going to be. I told you what your trade-in's worth. If it's a payment or a finance issue, we get that out of the way by getting you pre-approved, tell you what the payments are going to be, and then I go buy the car. This is done on a handshake with no money exchanged. And the reason I do that is I always try to put myself in the customer's position and standpoint. Well, I wouldn't buy a used car that I can't see. I wouldn't give somebody a $1,000 deposit. What if I don't get my money back and I don't like the car? So what I do is I put myself in your position saying, well, let's do it differently. Let's just do it on a trust factor and a handshake. If you tell me you're going to buy that car as long as it passes your inspection, I'll go buy the car for you. Most dealerships won't do this because if they have a 300-car inventory and the salesman goes to the manager and says they don't like this 350 and they don't like this 370, they'll tell them, I'll go switch them to the BMW Z4 or one of these other cars that we have. Well, customers don't like to be switched, especially people that know what they want. And this happens all the time when you go to a car dealership. You'll know what I'm talking about because you walk in looking for a $10,000 car. Next thing you know, they're showing you $15,000 cars because they don't have one that meets your criteria or meets your expectations or passes your inspection. So they do what they call a switch. And it happens once in a while, even at our dealership, that you walk in saying, well, I want a Ford Focus, and you drive out with a Corolla. Now, that doesn't mean that we switched you. That just means that you came into an independent dealership. We have all the different makes and models. We have the Ford. We have the Honda Civic, for example, the Toyota Corolla, the Nissan Sentra. We've got the Mitsubishi and the Kia product all lined up. And you find one that you happen to like better. So we didn't really switch you. You just sold yourself. And the nice thing about being an independent dealership, independent meaning we don't have a franchise, so we're not trying to sell you. You know, if I had an Acura franchise, I'd be selling you on an Acura. Every Acura is the best there ever was because we don't want you to walk across the street to the Lexus dealership or to the BMW dealership, buy one of their cars, so we have to sell you on our product. Well, being an independent dealer, I don't have to do that. It really lets a lot of pressure off of me to sell you on a car because it makes it easier for you just to pick one out. And the nice thing about coming to a dealership like Frontier Motors is if you're looking at let's say looking at a mid-size SUV, but you're really not sure what you want. Well, if you're not sure what you want, and you want to look at a Chevy Equinox, maybe a Chevy Traverse, or maybe the GMC Acadia, the next size up, maybe even something like a Yukon or a Tahoe or Expedition or a Lincoln or one of the multitudes of SUVs that are out there, you've got to go, if you're looking at 10 different makes and models, you got to go to 10 different dealerships. Well, that takes a lot of time. You got to meet a lot of salespeople. You got to talk to a lot of managers that want to all push you and squeeze you to make a decision today. And that could take a week for you to go to 10 different dealerships to get the bottom line, especially if you want a bottom line price, not just to kick the tires and sit and want to drive one, but I'm talking about as far as figuring out who has the best price. Because it's not always the vehicle that makes your decision. It's also the price. It's a combination. It's not only price. I learned that a lot of times where I might have a vehicle that's less expensive than anybody else, and I'll lose the person's business because they found a vehicle that they like better, not because of my price, but because they like the different make and model that I didn't show them. So what we do at Frontier Motors is we can show you all makes and models under one roof. It's almost like going to a car show. The reason that I like going to a car show, when the new cars come out, I can look at all different makes and models. And at a car show, you're not pressured to make a buying decisions. A lot of car shows are not selling shows. They're not trying to sell you that particular car. What they're trying to do is get you excited about a make and model, and then you go to the dealership after the show to buy the car. And that's why people like going to car shows, because you can look at all the new cars that are out there, and you can look at different colors, different equipment. You can stroll at your leisure, look at the window stickers, compare list prices. Even if you're going to buy a brand new car, why would you stop at Frontier Motors? Because we're a used car dealership. Well, one reason you would is because we have the new car cost guides at the dealership, and Consumers Reports actually sells the invoices of new cars to their clients, and you have to buy the invoices. And the last time I checked, I believe the invoice was about it's $14. New car price service costs $14 per invoice through Consumers Reports. Well, Frontier Motors, I have the invoice price of every make and model out there, and I'll share this information at no charge with you. So let's just say hypothetically you were going to go buy a brand new Lexus. And I like picking on Lexus because they're not in Pensacola. You got to go to Mobile, and unless they're watching this on a monitor, I don't think does COA go all the way to Mobile, Don?
It goes all the way around the world as long as you get on the internet. But no, it doesn't reach Mobile.
Okay, but if they're on the internet, they could be listening.
That's right. So, could be listening to us in Antarctica.
So hopefully, that's right. So hopefully they're not listening to us on the internet. And I would be talking about the Lexus dealership, because I can tell you what the cost is of any Lexus out there. Now, that doesn't mean I would tell you to offer them cost. A dealership cannot survive if you offer them what they paid for the car. They have to make a profit. It doesn't mean it has to be a big profit, but I can also tell you the amount of profit that I feel is fair. I base that on the dollars day supply. And what that means is how many days supply, I should say the day supply of inventory. So if a particular make and model has a 90-day supply. Well, that's a pretty high day supply. What that means is they're not flying off the shelf. They have multitudes either lined up at the dealership or back at the port, which means you're going to get a better deal. If they have a 10-day supply of cars, you might as well forget it. You might as well just walk in there and pay full list. And lucky sometimes they get it for full list, because some of the dealerships, if they have a 10-day supply of cars, they put an addendum on the car and they garbage the car up. What they do is they put rust proofing and fabric treatment and pinstriping and dark tinted glass and floor mats in the car at a 2,000% markup, so they have a little bit of dealing room. So when they deal on those accessories, they're still getting over list price for the car. And the reason they do that is because it's hard to get another one. They're selling them as fast as they get. And I have that information. I get that information out of the Automotive News magazine that we get every week. It has the day's supply in there. So it gives me an idea of what I should tell you to offer if you're going to buy a brand new car. The other reason that you would stop at Frontier Motors if you're going to buy a brand new car is because if you have a trade-in, what we're going to tell you is what that dealership should be appraising that trade for. So let's say I tell you that on a particular Lexus that has a $40,000 list price, I feel you should offer them $37,000 for that particular car. And let's say you get on the internet and you Google a couple Lexus dealerships and they're out of the area and they tell you that that's a good deal. We would want you to keep the money local. And I think the closest dealership is right here in Mobile. And so you go over to Mobile, which is also convenient because as far as servicing, you can go right there. Unfortunately, Lexus has such a good reputation. Other than changing the oil, which you can do anywhere, you won't have too many issues as far as having to take them over to Mobile for servicing. But they are under factory warranty, so you do have a 4-year, 50,000-mile warranty. But we can help you with the appraisal value of your trade-in. And I've seen this happen where you walk into the dealership. I tell you to pay $37,500. They say, we'll take that. That's fair. We're still making money, and you're getting a good deal. And then I'll give you an appraisal of the car of $12,000, and they appraise the car for $10,000. Well, you can use that information and say, no, you're not getting that car for $10,000. I already found another dealer that would pay me $12,000. I would rather trade it to you because you get a little bit of a tax credit if you trade it in, and you will be paying taxes on the balance. So on a $10,000 purchase, you save about $700 in taxes. But if they wouldn't do that, let's say that they're sticking at the $10,000. Well, you're better off selling me the car for $12,000, even though you might lose $700 worth of tax incentive. You're still $1,300 ahead if I give you $2,000 more. And I've had a lot of customers that just pulled up the Frontier Motors and said, I'd rather go car shopping for my new car without a trade-in. I never know if I'm getting a good deal. I never know if they're jacking up the price of their car to give me more money for mine, or if they're discounting their car and then stealing mine. So I really don't know. I'd rather do it without it. So you stop in a Frontier Motors, and we would appraise your car and just write you a check. And we had this happen the other day because we have a customer that was going to go to the local Honda dealership, and I gave him appraisal, and I told my sales manager gave him the appraisal. I told my sales manager, I says, make that appraisal high enough where they won't keep the car. And what I meant by that is he's going to get a lower appraisal, but a lot of times, even though the appraisal is lower, they'll adjust the appraisal to meet our figure, and then we never get the car. The used car manager just gets a kick in the butt from the new car manager and saying, hey, this guy over there at Frontier Motors is appraising that car for $12,000. Why are you only appraising it for $10,000? And these are some of the conflicts that go on at a new car dealership that, you think what they're doing in the back room is talking about you and drinking coffee, and they're really not. I ran a new car dealership for years and years, and my biggest time was spent talking the used car manager into giving me a fair appraisal. And sometimes the reason you don't get a fair appraisal at a new car dealership is because the used car manager gets paid on the amount of profit that he generates from his used car department. And his job is to take your car in as cheap as he possibly can, but yet still make a new car deal. So they don't want to kink it. So they start this game by hitting you with a low appraisal, and then the new car manager calls up over there and say, hey, I need more money for this car. And he goes on $500 increments. And this takes time. And that's why it's such a pain in the butt sometimes to get into a dealership and you think, well, I just test drove the car. Here's my keys for my trade-in. Give me an out-the-door figure. And an hour and a half later, you still don't have your figure. And you're figuring, well, what are they doing back there? Well, they're fighting because they're trying to give you the best deal they possibly can. And very difficult, especially when you say, I'm not going to buy today. And I would urge you to do that, folks, because you don't want to get sucked in to the new car atmosphere. And the atmosphere meaning that one of the ploys they use is, well, if you don't buy the car today, I can't guarantee you the price, and I can't guarantee you I can have another one. And these are so hard to get. Sometimes it'll take me 4 months to get that car. And especially if you finally found the car that you like. But you still want to kick around a little bit and maybe talk to some other dealers, maybe shop different makes and models yet. I'd urge you to walk away, get a bottom line price in writing, and I also urge you to make sure that manager puts the price in writing, including all the fees. And the reason I say this, folks, is because dealerships charge different fees. Some dealerships charge I saw this now lately, it's called an electronic title filing fee. I don't know what that is. I know the DMV has gone to electronic titles, and I think they're $10 extra, but they're charging like $40 for electronic filing fees. So that's a fee that some dealers have, some dealers don't. Most of the dealerships charge a doc fee. It can range anywhere from $200 all the way up to $900. The state says that you can charge a doc fee, which is the documentation fee to do all the paperwork, and because the dealer has to do the tag work, you cannot register your own car if you buy from a dealer. A lot of people don't know that. So I'll just give me the paperwork, save me the doc fee, I'll go down and do it myself. Well, the state years ago stepped in and said, there's not everybody's coming down here. They're driving their car and not registering them. So the state, this is like 30-some years ago, state stepped in and says, we're going to make the dealer do it. Well, the dealer says, well, I got to, that takes a lot of time to do that, especially like in our case, last month we sold 220 cars. That means we got to register 220 vehicles. That's time consuming. So they started charging a doc fee. I don't mind if a dealer charges $200 or $1,000. I just want them to include it in their fees so that when you compare the bottom line, including all the fees, that you can only have to compare one figure. Isn't that so much easier? If the out-the-door figure at Frontier Motors is $21,500, including taxes, title, doc fee, and everything, tag transfer, license plate, whatever you need is $21,500. It makes it so much easier for you to go to the new car dealership. And if you're looking at 2012, and let's use our Ford Focus, for example. I've got a 2012 Ford Focus on the lot. It's got Bluetooth. It's the upgrade one. It's the fancy one with the wheels. We've got it on sale right now at $19,900. Let's say I discount the car, and hypothetically your out-the-door figure is $21,000. No trade-in. Now, but doesn't that make it easy just to go right to the Ford store, find the exact same car there, or spec it out? And what's your out-the-door figure, Mr. Ford? Well, if it's $21,000, and there's a brand new, and mine's got $4,000 on it, you buy theirs. What if there's a $25,000? Or better yet, what if they won't give you the figure? Well, if they won't give you the figure, there's something wrong. I can never figure out why they won't give you the figure, but it's like a little secret. Well, I'm not going to give you a price unless you buy today. Well, I'm not going to buy today, but how do I know? How can I compare? How can I put you into the ranking of where I'm going to buy if you don't give me an out-the-door price? So there's back and forth going, and then they start the would you if I could. Well, if I could do it for $25 out the door, would you buy it? No, I told you I'm not going to buy the car today. What if I got it down to $23,000 out the door? Would you buy it today? And next thing you know, they play the game to keep going down and down and down. Let's say they get down to $22,000, and you say, well, that sounds really good, but I'm still going to think about it. So in the back of your mind, you walk out the dealership, and you think you can buy that car for $22 out the door. You come back 5 days later, you figure 22 is a better deal than 21 at Frontier Motors, and you go back and you say, well, I can't do it for 22, but I'll do it for 23.5. You say, well, what happened to that 22 figure? I didn't tell you I could do it. I told you I would try. And this is where the game's coming. That's why my customers come in and say, I hate buying a car. My first question always is, why do you hate buying a car? I hate the process. I say, what process is that? Well, the negotiating, the back and forth. Well, I always can make a joke to every customer, well, just pay them what they're asking, and there won't be any back and forth. Of course, they don't like that answer at all. Pay that new car dealership the list price, and you won't have to worry about it back and forth. The reason is because you've done a little bit of research, and you know what you feel a good deal is, and they won't meet that price. So now the back and forth starts. What we do at Frontier Motors is we try to make it real simple. When I say try, is we still have those customers that when I tell them I'll give you the lowest bottom line price out the door, they'll come to me 2 days later. I'll put it in writing. They go off. They go. They can't find a better deal. But they still come back 2 days later, and they make me an offer of $1,000 less. And I said, wait a minute. I told you I'd give me the best deal. I put it in writing. I let you go shop. I better give you the best deal. I'll never see you again. So at that point, why would you come back if you thought it was a bad deal? But some customers that have never bought from Frontier Motors before are still into that game. The people that have bought from us pretty much know how we do business. If I know that I have a car that I'm asking $14,700 for, and I have $13,100 invested, and I quote you a price of $13,700, I've got the car marked up about $700. Our doc fee is $299. That's a profit. So I'm making $1,000 on a car, on that particular car. And let's say that's a hard car to get, and I won't do any better. How much can I cut it? You know, if anything, maybe a couple $100 more, and I still have to pay the salesman a little bit. So there doesn't have to be any back and forth because I'm giving you my discount right off the bat. And I'm also making it really easy for you. By giving you that figure in writing, I'll make you a copy of our worksheet, and that worksheet actually splits all the prices up. So you know what the doc fee is, you know what the tag transfer is, you know what the taxes are, so you know how I'm coming up with that bottom line figure. And you also know what I'm appraising the car for, because that's on there also. So these are all the things that we can do to make it easy. We want you to get the word out that if you've got anybody, maybe you're not in the market for the car right now if you're listening to the show or watching the show on TV. Maybe you're not in the market now, but what if you're in the market for 6 months, in 6 months from now? Come to Frontier Motors at 230 Beverly Parkway, sit down with one of our sales guys, or just come in and ask for a price list. Shop at your leisure. If you spot the car that you want, make sure you check with us before you leave, and we'll give you the bottom line price. And this happened yesterday, Don. It happens all the time. We talked about this in the past. Customer comes in, and he asks my salesman if you've got any Pontiac Solstices. The Pontiac Solstices are little sports cars.
Sure, yeah.
I have a Saturn Sky, which is the twin to it. And he looked at it. Well, it's only got like 5,000 miles on it. It's $21,000. And the guy says, no, I don't want that. Well, I know why he didn't want that. He didn't want it because it had low miles on it. He didn't want it because he didn't want to spend $21,000.
Well, sure, yeah.
He wanted to spend around $13,000 to $15,000. So my salesman comes in after the customer leaves because I don't have one. I said, what happened with that customer? He says, well, he's looking for a cheaper Solstice and we don't have one. I says, yes, we do. He says, no, we don't. I said, yes, we do. I bought one 2 days ago. It's coming from Atlanta. It's a 2006 with 47,000 miles on it. It's charcoal gray, and we can sell it for about $15,000 right in his budget. Well, the customer wouldn't give the salesman the name and number.
Yeah.
But yet he's looking for a particular car.
Right.
You know, so what I urge the salesman, the customer to do, and I urge the salesman to do this, I told my salesman, I says, if you can't get the phone number, get the customer's email address. I know why a customer doesn't want to get the phone number. They don't want to be bugged. And if you're going to 10 different dealerships, you might have 10 different salesmen calling you at all hours of the day. So to avert that, the customers say, well, I'll just keep checking with you. Well, that car might never make it to our website. It might be sold before it even gets to the website. I urge you to leave your email address because I have cars en route. Right now, at any given time, I've got between 20 and 30 cars available that aren't on the lot because they're purchased and they're coming in from around the south. all the way from Atlanta to Nashville. We bought a vehicle in Houston the other day. We buy vehicles in Orlando, all over the place. So if you stop in a Frontier Motors, we want you to also know that when we're selling between 50 and 60 cars a week, that means I got to buy 50, 60 cars every week. So the inventory rotates on a religious basis. So if you're the type of person that doesn't want to leave your name or a number, leave your email address. And the nice thing about the email is we can take, almost all of our guys have a link to it that tells you the asking price and some of the specifics on that car, a link to the history report, for example, and then you can make a decision whether you want to take the time and take a look at that car. And it was real unfortunate. I guess one of the reasons I'm talking about that is I'm hoping that gentleman is listening or watching. So if he's out there looking for that less expensive Solstice, we're going to have one on the lot. And matter of fact, I think I saw it dropped off this morning. We've only got 3 minutes left, so I want to talk a little bit about some of the other services that we offer. We talked about free history reports. We talked about free appraisals. I think we talked a little bit about the fact that we purchase cars from private individuals. So if you've got your cars on Craigslist or eBay or AutoTrader or Cars.com, bring it to us. Let's write you a check. I'm buying about 30% of the cars that I'm looking at. Sometimes they're too expensive. Sometimes they have issues. But the other ones, we're buying them because they're people are always amazed that they've got their car priced at close to what I think it's worth because we don't mark them up that much, and they're still a good deal for our prospective clients. We also do consignments, which means that if you've got a special car that you're not driving, but you want more than the wholesale value, I can consign it for you. Out of 300-some cars, we normally consign about 20 to 50 cars on the lot at any given time that are consignment cars, but they have to be a good deal, and they have to be ready to go. They got to be non-smoking, no dings, dents, scratches, ready to roll. We also want to talk a little bit about the fact that we've offered financing, and if you have a credit union that you do business with, we're not here to bash your credit union or to tell you not to go with them. We're here to be competitive. And if your credit union tells you you can get 4% financing and we can get you 3% financing, you've got to make a decision of whether that credit union is worth keeping or not, or whether it's a bank. Or maybe you should keep them but diversify a little bit and go with the banker that gives you the best deal. Most people are doing that these days. Everybody's pinching penny within this recessionary times, and I think that if you can get a good deal at a strange bank, you might as well want to jump on it and put that extra savings in your pocket. It might save you $10 or $15 a month. We have a great website. You don't need to know the address. Just Google Frontier Motors. There's about 5 Frontier Motors in the nation. We're the first one that pops up. When you click on inventory, you're going to see about close to 300 cars in inventory. Almost all of them are going to have detailed photographs. About 50% of them have the asking prices on there, or the discounted prices, I should say. The other 50%, there's a link to our website where Bruce Hilt, our internet manager, will email you the price within a matter of minutes. We can also give you an idea of what your trade-in's worth without seeing it, as long as it's not 25 years old. The newer the car is, the easier for me to praise sight unseen. Again, we are the alternative to a new car. We stock a lot of 2010, 2011, and 2012 cars at a huge depreciation. Everybody knows when you buy a new car and drive it off the lot, 6 months later, it might depreciate 20 to 50%, depending on the model. Frontier Motors, 230 Beverly Parkway, 436-8080. Thanks for listening out there, and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay. Come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier. We've got the right price. Frontier. We'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors. Low overhead country.